Today it's time for a best of 5 series of top level StarCraft 2. It's time for a Protoss versus Zerg. We're in the top right hand corner of a map called Evil Heart. Playing with the red Protoss pieces, we have none other than Classic. Down in the bottom left with the blue Zerg pieces, he goes by the name of Reynor. Reynor takes on Classic. Now this particular best of 5 was recently played during the RSL Season 3. Meaning that this is played during the playoffs. I believe that the earlier stages of the tournament is all best of 3. But now that both players have moved on past the group stage, we are indeed doing best of 5s. If you're a fan of high-level StarCraft, it doesn't really get much better than these two playing against each other. Classic, of course, the runner-up of the World Cup this year. Reynor, I mean, he didn't have the best results at the EWC. And I really think that most people going into it, I think a lot of people thought that Reynor was going to do a little bit better across the board. Not that he had terrible results, but he really looked like he was in a potential shape to even maybe win the entire thing. But lately, Reynor has looked super sharp. And I think he... If I have to pick a favorite, I think he may actually be my favorite going into this, even though Classic has been an absolute beast in the Protoss versus Zerg matchup. Either way, for now, very standard openers, it looks like. 20 supply Nexus on the low ground. Followed up with a 20 supply Cybercore here as well in just a moment. I think as soon as we have 150 minerals, there we go. And then the probe production, yep, will indeed resume. It's interesting, right? So I think going into the finals, so the finals was Serral versus Classic. Serral versus Classic, I think in most people's minds, was always gonna be Serral. Probably like a 90% probability. And that's not any disrespect towards Classic. It's just that in general, it's a matchup that Serral was a monster at, and the playstyle that he played, Classic that is at the time, was figured out by Serral. Even though most of the Zerg players were struggling quite a lot, the very macro-focused approach, it was just something that Serral could beat. And going into the grand finals, I think most people at the very least would have picked Serral as the favorite. That being said, there was a very real scenario that Reynor could have taken out Serral, right? They had this phenomenal series. If you haven't seen it yet, there is a video up on my channel. Just go ahead and have a look at the YouTube videos. But there is a series that Serral played against Reynor where you could definitely make the argument that Reynor should have won it. And at that point, there is a chance, I guess, we might have had Reynor versus Classic in the grand finals. I think that series really was, by the way, Reynor's series to win. He had that one in the back, and then, well, sadly for him, he kind of threw it away. We have a Robo facility opener, by the way, here from Classic. What is this? Yeah, Twilight Council into a Robo. So he hasn't started up anything yet. I'm assuming it's going to be Glaives, but maybe not. Maybe it's a Dark Shrine? Are we Dark Templar rushing Classic? What are we doing? He hasn't started up anything yet in the Twilight Council. Alright, we'll have to keep an eye out on exactly what the plan is. Bit of an oddball. But yeah, Serral came... Okay, it's just going to be good old Glaives. Serral came incredibly close to elimination. And it's all because of a Reynor. Zergling speed just seconds away from finishing up. Classic will be very familiar with the timing, so he's moving those adepts back home. He wants to use them, of course, for aggression here in just a little bit, but also to keep that third Nexus alive. Now, for Reynor, he's already blindly preparing Spore Crawlers, right? So the normal time for an Oracle to show up is about 4 minutes, depending on the rush distance of the map. Normal timing of the third Nexus is right about right now. So Reynor has seen a normal timing of the third Nexus, but he has not really seen, I mean, at least an attempted timing, he has not really seen any flying unit yet. So no Oracle. He's looking around to see if maybe he can spot a Prism. It's going to be just some good old 4-gate aggression, but I think it is important here for Reynor that he starts making some units. Okay, now he sees that there are indeed a lot of adepts moving out. He sees the Prism. Will he have enough units available to actually still shut this sort of thing down? Nice bit of micro there by Classic, saving the first adept. Roach Warren is about halfway done, so it has to be Zerglings and Queens for now. And I'm a little bit worried here for the Italian Zerg. Then again, though, he has been delaying this attack quite a lot. And it's gonna give him... Ooh, is he gonna commit? He is gonna commit. Well, this is a great position for Classic. He's not really killing any drones, though, which is obviously what he's primarily trying to do. Roach Warren right now done. Still very cost efficient, but the problem now becomes that he needs to kill workers because there is still no third nexus. Okay, he's getting the work done now, though. 8 drones for the time being, but more of them are likely to fall. We have some reinforcing adepts as well over at the third base. Prism is going to try and swoop around the side. Yeah, maybe get it. A couple of these units evacuated on out of there. We have another shade back into the main base, and this could really hurt yet again. This is an old school approach. May I say a classical approach. Roaches are pretty much essential unless you have overwhelming Zergling numbers. And while this is not really an S-tier strategy at the professional level, most pro gamers don't really love it all too much. They mix it in from time to time, just to keep the Zerg players honest. Now, it looks like eventually there will be at least some form of stabilization for Reynor. He needs to make... Oh, hey, we have a scouting immortal. That was rallied straight onto the same location as that observer. Brenda goes down as she injects the hatchery one last time. Did he just recall it? Yeah, he recalled it. That's crazy. Accidental misrally right there by Classic, who must have gotten a little bit carried away trying to micro these units. But already, he knows that this game is phenomenal for him. Now, again, I am a little bit concerned because there is no third nexus on the back of this for the Protoss, right? So he did this off of just 4 gateways. If he really wanted to go for a 2-base all-in, should he have not gone up to like 6, 7, maybe 8 gateways already? Instead, what we have is a double-layered push from Classic, so it looks like we're gonna go Adepts into Immortal Sentry. There's no way we're building a Nexus now, are we? Really? I don't like it. Feels unnecessarily risky. So, he's got the gateways. Nah, I think it's still a fake out. He probably sent it out there just to, like, sell the story to the Zerg and maybe to the commentator. Reynor is gonna see right now a pylon, but no third. And that, of course, is gonna, well, make it very apparent that there is another layer of Protoss aggression moving across the map. Is this the army that Classic needs to win the game with? Keep in mind that Reynor lost a lot of eco, but I mean, he's worker-wise okay. Like, he's fine. The force fields, though, are dangerous. The Immortals are putting in so much work. Another warp-in of more and more Adepts. I wonder if maybe he could have had charge with this army. Would have been super nice. The Immortals are also hitting the Queens rather than the Roaches, which certainly is a little bit suboptimal, but I think the numbers are just so freaking strong here for Classic. Obviously, the Adepts can still be shading around as well. We have a small little squad here moving into the natural expansion, and as more and more of those warp-ins become available, unless we can snipe the Prism, okay, nice little hit squad here, but denied by Classic. It takes 3 vials to kill the Prism, even though with the Prism down, it would not have mattered, and it's Classic who wins the first game of this best of 5. Next up, we find ourselves on the Celestial Enclave. A nice bait and switch right there from Classic. A very committed attack as well, I will say. I really think it's Hero that has started up this new trend for Protoss strategies. We've seen this now as well from the likes of MaxPax. Classic also being a lot more committed to his aggression than he ordinarily is. I feel like most of the time when Classic goes for openers like we at least saw in the previous game, he goes for the 4-gate Glaive to Depths, right? That's not really too uncommon, although I feel like for Classic it is a bit of an oddball of a strategy. But then he would certainly make a 3rd Nexus on the back of it. Classic not committing to a 3rd Nexus, faking it out, and then following it up with an Immortal Sentry all-in. It almost feels a little bit out of character, but that's the sort of thing that Hero has been playing a ton as of late, and Hero has been winning pretty much everything he's played in. So, yeah, I guess the other top-level Protoss players have had a look, and they've decided to mix in a little bit of that craziness themselves as well. Now, Celestial Enclave is it's a relatively defendable map. You can obviously get that in-base expansion going if you really want to. I'm not sure if the Zerg player really wants to be opting for it, but likewise, of course, as the Zerg here, you may just assume that Protoss is going to be taking this very easy to acquire base. which also can bite you in the butt. For now, though, both players are just going to go for the low ground expo. The problem, of course, with the in-base expansion is that it's 5 mineral fields rather than a normal 8, and only a single Vespian gas geyser, so you're not going to be able to get that much mining out of it. But there are some assumptions that you make when you play on a map like this, just because it is the easiest way for Protoss to take a third. Now, of course, in the early game of this matchup, Zerg is a bit of a punching bag. There aren't that many aggressive openers available. Well, as long as Protoss is going for a Stargate opener, most of those early game pushes from Protoss can be denied. Or from Zerg, rather, can be denied by the Protoss. Okay, he's not gonna go for the back-to-back Twilight or Robo. Instead, we're gonna go into the good old Stargate here. It makes a lot of sense. Now, will we go into the classic, right? Will we go into the good old triple Oracle? Triple Oracle into Twilight Council with a Forge, get the +1 going, get the Blink going. Leverage your way into an early third Nexus. That is how Protoss players approach this matchup most of the time. Will that be what Classic decides to build? Or is this going to be one of those more modern approaches where you go Void Ray into Oracle, or Oracle into Void Ray, or Void Ray into Void Ray? Or that weird triple Void Ray build, okay, that we saw MaxSpecs recently experiment with. Well, yet again, a little bit of an oddball of a strategy here from Classic. I really wonder if this playstyle is going to stick. We've been seeing it so much lately from all the top dogs. Very little heavy macro focus, even though I still think that the Protoss late game is phenomenal. Look at this, by the way. A 320 third Nexus. You love to see it. Reynor is not going to see the third, though. And he's also not going to see much anymore now that the Overlord is out. Or the Void Ray is out, rather. Classic is going to make the beam thick immediately. And he wants to check as well if maybe there is another... Oh, really? We're not going to check if there's another Overlord on the right? I guess it's odd for Zerg players these days to send out 2 Overlords early on, but this is kind of weird to me, isn't it? Like, he's opening up his own backdoor. Sorry. Sometimes I hear myself saying things. Anyways, he's spreading it out right over here for no apparent reason whatsoever. We do have a drone checking right now for Reynor to see whether or not indeed there is an in-base expansion. A little bit odd, of course. Oracle in the meantime goes in. And this is a very cool little drone scout here from the Zerg. Drone scouting in general, incredibly rare. But Reynor has seen everything because of that, well, in-base... if I call this the backdoor, can I call this the backdoor too? I guess this is the general backdoor and this is the worker-only backdoor. I need new words. I need to... He walled himself in fully over on the high ground, so the front door is closed. You can only say the word backdoor so many times in a StarCraft cast before it becomes problematic. Alright, so this over here, the front ramp is fully walled off. We have a worker-only path right over here. Yeah, it means that he's likely going to create a few more structures in this location just to, at the very least, prevent the big Zergling flood from just running in. Nobody wants to see that in their backdoor. I hate it when the Zerglings run through. Alright, Templar Archives right now, together with the Storm upgrade, and then good old Blink with the +1. +1 melee in the meantime as well, though, for Reynor. +1 melee, a pretty late one. I thought with the timing of this Evo Chamber, we'd go Missile for sure, but not the case. So he has skipped out the Baneling Nest, he has skipped out the Roach War, and he's gone straight into a Hydra Den. Double expansion as well in the meantime. I guess Reynor is looking at this game so far. Seeing what he has seen, he has decided that this now is a big macro game. And if that's the case, well, I guess you can just sort of do whatever you like. Rather than trying to shut down the Protoss player before the big eco, well, really gets going, it seems like Reynor wants to fight fire with fire. Oracle's gonna come in, though. Yep, sniping a few of those creep tumors is nice. Another drone, maybe? No, not quite. Infestation pit coming up. That's going to allow the hive. Second Stargate in the main base all ready for Classic. Second Stargate, Robo facility. Do we go Robo Bay? This game is like one of those weird gentleman agreements where both of them have decided that they're going to skip the early game and the mid game altogether. And they're scouting each other and they're like, hey, are you an honest gentleman? Are you not going to attack me? Okay, if you're not attacking me, I'm not going to attack you. Fleet beacon right now. All the expansions for the Zerg are done. He probably wants to get a few more drones going, though, before he really commits to unit production. Although, what? Swarm hosts? Okay. Now, swarm hosts don't care about front doors, back doors, any doors, anything. All of it is fair game for them. I'm not even sure. I guess you can send out like a Nidus worm over here and then rain them from that direction. The right side is a little bit awkward, though. I feel like in general, swarm host, maybe he wants to assault the front over here at the 4th? I'm not sure about the swarm host transition. It's really weird to see swarm host on the production tab at the same time as a fleet beacon. But obviously this has been a ridiculously early fleet beacon. Right now at 83 drones. 15 soon to be, no, 14 swarm hosts here in total. No Nidus worm though. Storm is trying to get hunted down. He's gonna get one High Templar, it looks like. Maybe not. Nope, not quite. Here goes the locust wave. First storm is good. Second storm is also nice. Big Stalker warp in. And you know what? Storm is a nice ability. This may be news to some of you, but I think Storm is pretty good. Yeah. Yeah, it's all right. I think we can all say that it's decent. He had no idea that Classic had no idea, rather, that he was facing off against Swarm Host. But he had some adepts and units here prepared. The High Templar were waiting on the high ground to deal with like a potential circling run by. And they did not hesitate to storm down the Locust as well. And now Reynor has got himself, well, like what is this? Like 50-something supply, 52 supply worth of dead weight. Is it really going to do anything? Okay, well, this is better, I guess, than the first wave. Locust DPS is nuts. If they're actually fighting, it's really good. Wait, is Reynor doing a Hydra Link Swarm Host timing attack and it's working? There's no way. Normally, when the first attack does not go correctly, right? When the first wave of the Locust doesn't achieve much, usually that's sort of the end of the Swarm Hosts. That first wave is absolutely pivotal. Slowly but surely, the carrier numbers are growing. They're expensive. You can see that Reynor is still fully maxed out. It's one of the problems you run into with the Swarm Hosts. They're just so supply heavy. But I mean, we rinse and repeat. He's using the downtime on the Locust to get the reinforcements out yet again. Hydraling Bane is soon going to be available. He's really focused on trying to shut down the High Templar and then any Archons that might be coming forth from it. This is going way better for Reynor than I thought it was ever going to be. Charge slots now being warped in. We still have a bunch of those interceptors up in the air. Locusts are going to be on cooldown yet again. But reinforcing Zerg units are on their way. I don't think you can counterattack Classic. Look at the supply. He doesn't know it, of course, but Zerg is fully maxed. And you are barely surviving. Here's another Locust wave. He can even snipe the Nexus. Yeah, I think you might just right-click the Nexus. Sure. Look at the damage. And this game, it looked phenomenal when the first Locust wave came in for Classic. It has now been fully turned upside down in one of the strangest way possible. Looks like Reynor is aiming to go for the good old Hydra Corruptor unit composition. One of the very best unit compositions in the entire game. Don't let anybody tell you otherwise. Oh, those storms are juicy. Hydras are going to be able to get their lunge ability going now. The lunge is going to be kind of insane, actually. Yeah, I think this game is over. Wow. I can't believe it. So, Swarm Hosts beat Skytos. Imagine that. Crazy. Next up, Winter Madness. Game number 3 in this best of 5 series. Reynor showing yet again that he is a very flexible player. Doing his Zerg yoga on the daily. I think. I don't know. I'm actually surprised with how effective that was. So we saw Swarmos on the production tab, 14 of them, at the same time as the fleet beacon was being built on 4 bases. Now, of course, that was a very greedy opener from Classic, right? He already had Storm, he mostly just had economy, he didn't have a lot of army supply. But when that first locust wave got utterly destroyed, he effectively bought himself like another, 45 seconds or so. Which is huge. Like, it's so much time wasted for the Zerg player. You have that superior eco at that point as the Protoss. You can just warp in more and more of those High Templar. I'm surprised with how effective that second wave of the Zerg player was when he joined the Hydras together with the Swarm host. I guess he effectively used the Locust there to tank for the Hydras to be able to deal damage too. The damage per second of the Locust is definitely higher, so it's a bit weird. It's like using a glass cannon unit to tank for your units, but since the glass cannon unit is only there temporarily anyway, it does create a very strange situation. I wonder if Reynor himself was a little bit surprised by how effective that, second wave of the Locust turned out to be. Either way, it worked out for him. Classic is going to have to go back to the drawing board. There is, of course, that interesting dynamic too, right? Between carriers and hydralisks, where in large numbers, carriers absolutely destroy hydras. But if you can't really bring a lot of carriers together and the hydras are just sort of killing the intercept ship or the interceptor ships as fast as they are being built, the carriers can sometimes look a little bit foolish. And obviously carriers, I mean, every single one of the interceptor ships does cost 15 minerals each. So if you lose them over and over and over again, not quite the same way with Swarmhost, of course. Those locusts don't cost you any minerals. It does add up over the course of the game, especially when you are already sort of losing the 4th base. It gets very messy very quickly. Alright, anyways. It's going to be a good old Oracle start this time around for Classic. Double Oracle, it seems. So no more shenanigans. One drone? One drone. Zerglings in the meantime, though. Ooh, nicely done by Reynor. You know, my only concern after that previous game is that I know for a fact that there are some Zerg players here that watched and they feel inspired. They're like, yo, you can beat Skytles with Swarm hosts? And they're gonna give it a shot in their own games, and it's not gonna go nearly as well. It is a very narrow timing, right? So if you miss it, you probably are gonna immediately lose the game. Either way, Reynor right there, responsible for probably at least, I want to say 3 dozen Diamond League Zerg players losing at least 20 MMR each. Probably a worthy sacrifice for him, though, because he got a point on the board. Evo Chamber this time around a little bit quicker for Reynor, but by no means the fastest possible one. Charge has the very first upgrade for Classic. Okay. All right. Charge together with +1. I like this here from Classic, so what has he seen so far? Well, in the previous game, Baneling Nest was skipped, Roach Warren was skipped. In the first game, or in the second game rather, that's when the Roach Warren was skipped and the Baneling Nest was skipped until much later, right? So in the second game, he ended up playing it very passively. He couldn't really punish the Zerg. In the first game, yes, there was a Roach Warren, but it wasn't really down in time to really deal with the Glaive to depth pressure. If Reynor decides to delay it again, or maybe skip it yet again, Charge Load with +1 is going to be phenomenal, because it will only be Zerglings ready to defend. Pylon goes down, though. Losing the 3rd Nexus is a little bit painful. Mostly just delaying Protoss, but look at Classic. He actually cut out worker production there for quite a long time. So only just now is when he starts up pro production yet again. This is going to be quite a commitment. 6 gateways. Interesting one. 6 gateways. No, we have 7. It's going to be 7 gateways in total. Or as the Gen Alpha would say. Okay, I'm not going to do it. I'm sorry. Too many people that work in schools or with kids in general that like to watch my content that are cringing already. Just from the thoughts of the number 6 and then the number 7. Not doing it. We're not doing it. I'm wearing a turtleneck today, okay? We're not doing it. Maybe tomorrow when the turtleneck, I'll probably wearing the shirt tomorrow too, actually, now that I think about it. Okay, here we go. Zerglings are the only weapon that Reynor will have against Mass Zealot. Templar Archives on the back of this for Classic. But I think this first wave has some very real potential. There's a Spinecrawler coming up, a Bingling Nest trying to shield for it. Classic is going to move on over in this direction, which I think is exactly what Reynor is hoping for. The more time that Reynor buys, the better it's going to be. But no Roach Warren means that he's not going to have a very nice answer against these units. Banelings can almost be made. I mean, this positioning is not the end of the world for Reynor. The problem is, though, that these Zealots have +1. And +1 means that these Zealots can 2-shot Zerglings rather than 3-shot them, which is a massive attack boost. Likewise, the Zerglings also have +1 melee. I mean, the crisis management here from Reynor has been nutty. Wait a second. Wait just a minute here. Did he just defend this? All the while losing 2 drones? He had nothing. He had nothing when he scouted those Zealots. That is some absurd crisis management here from Reynor. Classic is trying to see if he can maybe settle for a hatchery kill. But I don't even think he's going to get that. And this is the Zerg player's 5th base. There's no way. Really? Reynor does this sometimes, where he clutches out these really weird defensive plays when you think he's dead. Like, he danced around this section of the map for a good long while. The Spinecrawler that's now dead did put in a lot of supplemental damage too. He still has not made a Baneling. I mean, he did lose a lot of links, don't get me wrong. He's still losing some of them right now on the other side of the map. But I really expected for at least more than 2 drones to go down there. I feel like if you would put any other Zerg player in that same position, they probably would have lost at least like half a base worth. Alright, Classic is going to secure the kill here eventually. Zerglings, though, did swoop around the side. Reynor, of course, very well known for his Zergling control now for many, many years. Looks like he's going to sacrifice some of them to force the cancel on that new Nexus. We need a name for him. How about the Lord of the Links? No? Too far? Alright, anyways. There's no denying that Reynor's Zergling control has always been best in class. I would say it's even a little bit better than Serral's across the board. Just always weaving around the map and getting a ridiculous amount of value out of such a basic unit. Another one of those things, I think similar to the Swarm Host, that I don't believe you want to copy if you're watching this as a Zerg. Either way, 4th Nexus has been rebuilt. Classic now does have Skytos, at least on the horizon, I believe. For the time being, though, it's going to be High Templar together with Zealots. Well, I say that. He actually is adding on more gateways. Massive Zergling Hydraling Bane counterattack, though. Do we have enough here to defend? I don't think so. We have enough for a counterattack? I mean, he doesn't decide to send this Protoss army back home. 4th Nexus goes down. 5th Hatchery is going to be in a world of trouble, too. The problem is, though, if, yeah, the Zerg army returns, we're going to have to fight them on creep. And I don't believe that this is a Protoss army. Oh, especially not with 2 High Templar going down. I don't think this is a Protoss army that can really fight the Zerg player on creep at all. Zerglings have have once more been left behind. Banelings hunting down clumps of Zealots and High Templar. Oh, nice detonation there for Reynor. And I think with reinforcing Zerglings and Hydras coming out, I believe there is enough for Reynor to shove this army home. Then again, though, Classic has killed a ton of drones. 37 workers have died throughout this game. He did also lose his own 3rd, but he still may have the potential to go for an all-in. We get another one of those fights right over in this location. Good save on that High Templar. The Hydra damage, though, is crazy. Can he kill the Prism? Can he kill the Prism? He can kill the Prism before the warp-in completes. And I think that seals the deal for Reynor. Look, his eco, nothing to write home about. But the Protoss economy is even worse. Classic is gonna need another base. I guess he can start long distance mining over here, but it's gonna feel like a very long time until the Nexus is done, if he even decides to make one. Okay, he builds one up. Reynor now sailing across the map yet again. He's expecting some sort of Skytools transition, or maybe he feels like Mutalisk would even be a viable choice. I've got a feeling that Hydraling Bane is going to be enough, but of course the Spire now being a little bit cheaper to get going, maybe it's a decent choice to make. I mean, if you get 6 Mutas out, 6 Mutalisks in this economy, not a bad choice. You know, things are desperate when Protoss decides to bring the probes out for fighting. We see this all the time from Terran players, but not the norm, of course, for Protoss. No bunkers can be built. No siege tanks available here for Classic. Yeah, Reynor is basically dancing to keep that third Nexus away. He's buying time until potential Mutas. I think that's the plan now. There's no way he's anticipating Skytools anymore, seeing all of those warpins on the other side of the map, if he even was expecting them in the first place. I think this is actually just a very weirdly timed Mutalisk transition, but it's kind of perfect. Yep, there we go. And that is about the last thing that Classic would expect. The creep spread is still ridiculous, by the way, making it really tough for Classic to actually move through. Classic now decides to double expand. I don't mind it, right? Like, if you know you're behind, come up with a win condition and try your best. Classic basically crossing his fingers and hoping that he's given enough time to get these bases going. I don't believe, though, he's gonna suspect Mutalisks at all. That is just such an uncommon unit at this point in the game. I kind of love it, though, from Reynor. So Reynor expects that there will be a full-on retaliation with a full-on counterattack, so he's making loads of Banelings. Now the Mutas are spotted for the first time. Where's this army gonna go? Yeah, he has some Archons in the mix, fair enough, but the Archons are not gonna be able to catch up to the Mutas. Bunch of Stalkers get warped in, fair enough. I wonder if you can even fight the Stalkers at this point in time, but 10 probes go down. Yeah, keep in mind that Reynor's eco is only at 55 drones, right? So Nexus over here is already cancelled. Reynor only on 55 drones. So he also does need to get something done with the army, I think. Either way, Lurker then now also added into the mix. Reynor going for all of the tech. I still feel like Classic just doesn't have much left to stand on. Good storm over there. Good push over here. We do have a couple of zoning storms, I guess, too. Banelings decide to not waste their lives on a bunch of probes that were gonna die anyway. I wonder if Zork can just F2A move through everything at this point in time. Looks like the Mutas, by the way, have been killed, or... No, actually, some of them swooped away. Some of them did go down. Lurkers are coming, though, and that's another unit that Classic just does not have an answer for. Third Nexus is gonna die yet again. Classic right now, well, he's got very little mining, and it's gonna be reduced even further. GG. Next up, we find ourselves on Persephone. That game was an absolute beauty from Reynor. I gotta say, the new patch, I don't know if all the pro gamers have just collectively decided to have more fun, but it really does seem like pretty much all of the players are enjoying things a little bit better. The meta did really get a bit stagnant, but everybody's experimenting with weird strategies still. And honestly, at this point, it kind of feels like the weird strategies, I'm calling them weird, but it feels to me like they may just be the new meta. It doesn't look like there is one go-to build order for any race in any matchup right now, with maybe the exception of Terran. I feel like Terran versus Zerg kind of set in stone, but we still see players experimenting with like speed benchies. We're still seeing a lot of like odd mech transitions too. I mean, I say a lot, it's relatively few. But, I mean, I'm not tired of watching, for example, Hydraling Bane or Mutaling Bane going up against Marine Marauder Medevac. Like, that is always going to be enjoyable to me. This has always been, Zork versus Protoss, that is, has always been a matchup that's a bit more creative, I suppose, with a bit more variety in the first place, but lately, it's been a lot more than what we've seen over the last couple of years. Protoss versus Terran could maybe become a little bit stagnant as well from the Terran's point of view. Protoss has so many choices in that matchup. Terran kind of feels like they have one play to go for. But what we have been seeing over the last few weeks from Terran players is hyper-aggressive builds in TVP. Not relevant in this particular series, of course, but I really do feel like across the board, the new patch has certainly made the game more exciting yet again. Adept swoops in, kills one drone, gets out. Good old Oracle here to start things out, though, here for Classic. Classic not really opting to go for any crazy build orders over the last couple of games. Keep in mind, by the way, that this is mostly a Korean tournament. Reynor, though, spending a lot of time over in Korea over the last few years, and he is playing this as well from Korea. So that means that neither player has a ping disadvantage or advantage. Very important. It's one of those things that's pretty difficult to discuss, I feel like, in general. But little things like missing the Spore Crawler, right? When that Adept came in. If it is cross-server, I can excuse it somewhat. When you're on the same server, though, Reynor certainly could have saved that worker. Twilight Council right now for Classic. So probably, I mean, he doesn't build a forge with it. I feel like every time I see Classic playing Stalkers, he goes Twilight Council together with a forge at the same time. This time around, he's going for a quick robo, so we have to keep an eye out on exactly what he's going for. Maybe we're going Archon drops. High Templar? Like Templar Archives into Archon drops? I am a sucker for that strategy, but nobody plays it. Oracle's looking around for some damage. Nope, it's going to be charged yet again. Just like Hero. It seems like Classic is enjoying the charge research quite a lot. And honestly, in that previous game, he kind of had the perfect setup for charge to work. Still didn't work, though. This time around, he's doing charge. He's waiting for the Nexus to finish up. A little bit of a supply block here. This Nexus was delayed ever so slightly. This time around, he's not going for the +1 ground attacks here. So, yeah, it's indeed not Blink. It's not Glaive to Depths either. It's not High Templar into Archon drops. But it's good old charge slots. There's a little bit of irony, right? Where the absolute top players in StarCraft 2 are going for charge like half of the time now as their very first upgrade. Even though your average Diamond League player is going to be able to micro Zealots about as good as pro gamers can. Like, no disrespect to Diamond League players out there, but your Stalker micro is not going to be as good as Classics. I'm sorry, that's just, you know, it's just, that's just how it works. But there's very little micro when it comes to sending in the Zealots. And I find it kind of funny that the top dogs lately have been favoring charge a lot. Even though there's very little Zealot juice to be squeezed out. Ooh, faking the gases. I kind of love that. So he faked the gases for the Zerg. Reynor actually never really caught it. But the attempt is cool. Here go the Zealots, though. So what you do here to micro the Zealots is a tech move. Yeah, that's all you do. Yeah, that's all you do. Maybe you bring in the Prism to, like, pick up a few of the weakened ones, but you really just use the attack move button. And, yeah, then you warp in some more when you feel like the queens are far away enough, which in this case they are. Oracle micro is very difficult, I will say. You have to be on point with the Oracle control, but this is one of those strategies that is just, I mean, well defended yet again by Reynor, who yet again decided to skip out on the Roach Warren, which is crazy. What he did go for, by the way, is double Evo Chamber upgrades. Very quick Infestation Pit as well. You know what? That defense was yet again kind of insane by Reynor. Gets an Oracle here as well. Yeah, the big difference now, though, is that those zealots don't have +1. With +1, those fights look very different. Reynor does have +1 on his own Zerglings. We'll have to keep an eye on exactly why the Infestation Pit was built. Are we... Ultras? Ultras is really the only thing that makes sense. Why otherwise would you go for a second Evo chamber this quickly? Zealots using their leg enhancement right now. Through the speed circle as well. Speed circle rather as well on Persephone. Archons are indeed being added into the mix now. No Storm yet. That's a little bit weird. He's making Archons and Zealots, but no Storm. But no +1 upgrade either. So the Zerglings now are gonna start winning these fights very confidently. Push into the main base yet again as we are juggling Archons. Looks like the Queen is gonna get destroyed yet again too. Man, Reynor is getting old attack. Classic is getting none of it. Reynor is going into Hive and double upgrades and all the rest of it. Classic is making Zealots. Now, he did lose the Prism just now. I'm a little bit afraid that these Zerglings are just going to be too powerful, though. 9 drones did go down. Okay. Storm now added into the mix. A lot of High Templar get warped in. Archons immediately yet again. But seriously, though, if I would have covered up the names, would you have assumed that this is Classic playing? It feels very out of character. I think Hero is rubbing off on anybody. All right, anyways, Ultra Cavern right now, coming up. It is indeed going to be the good old Ultras. You know when the guys that treat StarCraft 2 like a spreadsheet, guys like MaxPax, guys like Classic, when they... Ooh, no console, that sucks. When they start playing like this, you know that it really must mean that new times have come. I guess it's also that like late game Skytos is just not quite as powerful as it was on the previous patch. Zerg just having a slightly easier time across the board. Here we go again though, and this is still a very scary push. Classic has a very large army. Ultras are not yet out. Ultras also won't have chitinous plating. Banelings are kind of nice, but not against Archons. Man, how many queens have died this game? So many that I've ran out of boomer names. Wow. 17 queens. The royal lineage of this Zerg bloodline is... Wow, it's run out. GG. And that means it all comes down to this. Final game in this best of 5 series. It takes place on the map Tokamak. Reynor getting all the tech. Classic getting none of the tech. Yet again, a bit of an oddball of a game. It looked like Reynor had it in the bag for just a moment, but then, yeah, he decided to make Ultras. I know. Making Ultras against Protoss? Huh? This Protoss didn't even have Immortals. I mean, to be fair, if it would have had Ultras out, it would have been pretty sick. But Ultras against Protoss will always be a bit of a meme. Okay. So when it matters the most, what strategies do we go for? Do we go for something wild and wacky yet again? Do we skip out the Roach Warren yet again? There's a lot of things that Reynor could have changed up in that previous game, and I think it would have ended up with a very different result. That's probably also the reason why Classic decided to double down, though. He probably would not have done so if he saw that Zerg was going Roaches, or if he saw that the opponent was adding on Banelings or Hydras or anything along those lines, right? Well, there were some Banelings at the end. But a lot of the gas spending went into the tech, went into the upgrades. Sneaky little probe, moving out towards the left side of the map. So Classic really... He has been studying the sword with Hero. What are we doing here? He's like, hey, Hero, where did you go to school? No way, dude. Classic is gonna risk it all. I think we're going proxy Stargate. It's the only thing that makes sense. So this is the second pylon that he's got, and it's proxied on the other side of the map. Stargate? Yeah. Yeah. I gotta say, I kind of love this, though. So I think the general gist of it, right, is that for years, what we've been seeing is players looking for, like, the S-tier strategy. So if you consider all of the options that you can go for in, like, a tier list, most of the time, pro gamers will go for the absolute best of the best. Because it makes sense, right? Right now, though, the absolute best of the best is slightly nerfed, and I guess it sort of lifts up all of the other potential strategies. And right below the tippity top of, like, the best build order, which would, I think, still be triple Oracle into just good old Blink Stalker. Right below that, there's like 24 strategies that are all equally viable. And as long as your opponent has no idea which one you end up going for, it is still insanely effective. So this Oracle is gonna arrive about maybe 20 seconds earlier. Probably not even that. No, probably more like 15, maybe 10 even. Either way, it is gonna arrive sooner than you'd expect it right here as Reynor. So Reynor does not yet have a second queen over here. He does not yet have a Spore Crawler built. Yeah, Spore Crawler starts up right now. Oh, yeah, clumsy. Get a fourth, okay. Fifth, sixth, okay. Okay. You know what? Oh, that started off kind of dicey. Gets 8 bad boys here in the end, though. I don't think he can complain too much. Reynor is not gonna like that. The Stargate will die. But the Oracle lives. And I think that is much more important. Now Reynor is cutting a corner over in the natural expansion, trying to cut that Spore Crawler. Pays the price for it, too. I think you have to kill at least like 5 or so drones to justify the proxy. Anything above that is going to be a nice little bonus. Obviously, Reynor will still be forced to make the Spore Crawlers anyway. So what do we do now? Well, apparently Reynor does not feel like he has the potential to go for an all-in and maybe retaliate on the other side of the map. Leave the depths on the back of this as well. Classic. Okay, sure. He's become very cheesy yet again. A little bit of Korean cheese. Even though I believe lactose intolerance is very high. I know the Korean server actually is very cheesy in general. Reynor probably having a hard time finding any good Parmesan or whatever. I don't know. Ooh, well, this is weird. I don't know how much Italian food there is in Korea. Maybe it's gonna be great. Let's see, though. Adepts move through to the right side of the map, and this is not something that Reynor is gonna see until it's hitting him right at the front door. And this could be massively problematic. Resonating Glaives is done. It's just a straight-up attack speed improvement for the Adepts. So far, though, throughout this series, the crisis management from the Zork has been phenomenal. Roaches are coming, by the way, for the first time since game 1. How many drones is he gonna lose? Full wall off over in the natural. Drones are trying to make sure that they get just barely out of danger, but keep in mind, they also cannot evacuate to the natural very easily. Looks like he is gonna have to rebuild it yet again. Zerglings, Roaches, and Queens. Oh, Adepts don't really find much damage, but they still get a good bit of work done, though. Still, I think this was meant to almost be like a game-ending bit of pressure by Classic. And he only got 8 drones there. 8 drones in the additional 10 that he already had, so... Yeah, it's nothing to write home about, but obviously 18 workers killed, not even 7 minutes into the game, is certainly what you're looking for as Protoss. But there is still a way out of this game for Reynor. At the very least, he is gonna have a potential follow-up. I gotta say, Reynor's defense has been something else. right? So obviously against the Oracles, there's only so much you can do. But the defense here, like not just in this game, but also against the charge slots and all of the other glaive to death pushes that we've seen throughout the series, it has been phenomenal. Every time I think he's pretty much dead, he somehow survives with relatively minimal losses. And if you look at the supply count right now, if you look at the worker count right now, yeah. It's a playable spot for Zerg, to say the least. Infestation Pit right now on the back of this. I mean, if I was in Classic shoes right now, I think I would assume that I'm far ahead. And that is also a dangerous mindset to have. Yeah, he is layering up these layers of Protoss with another layer. This time around, it is going to be an Immortal Sentry attack, it seems, for all the marbles. But this is not a Zerg player who's really that broke. Little Zergling run by yet again in the top left. Looking to see if maybe you could potentially snipe a 4th base, I'm sure. Still a very scary Protoss push, though. And this positioning over here is usually quite good for Protoss, too. A little bit of creep out here is nice. Zerglings actually decide to come back home again for the defense. Hive comes up. Reynor builds a Hive? Reynor started up a Hive and an upgrade for the Hydras just now. Classic is trying to see if it can win the game right here, right now, with a very similar attack to what we saw in the first game. Reynor is feeling so confident that he's macroing behind this. I mean, there's so many force fields, but so little damage for Protoss. The Immortals are nice. The Adepts, though, don't really deal that much DPS. We do have a few of the Adepts now working away at the mineral line here, or at least being a little bit of a nuisance. Looks like the 4th hatchery of the Zerg can easily be killed. Roach Hydra Ling, though, is a strong unit composition and one that synergizes really well, whereas those Adepts, they fall off. So there's a lot of urgency here for Classic to keep fighting, whereas for Reynor, I think he's happy to just macro up from this position. Hive is gonna finish, by the way. Do we go for a Viper? One Viper could actually be insanely nice. Oh, Force Field energy has run out. Yeah, that's the end of the sentries. Still a lot of Immortals. An additional 5 drones do die. Big warp in right over here. I really love the Spore Crawler moving back to the front. Oracle ends up dying because of it. And Reynor holds. That's crazy. Okay. Lurker then starts up now. Feels a little late. Keep in mind that after the early game, with the Proxy Oracle, Reynor's economy was like 26 drones or so, versus like, I think close to full 2-base saturation for Classic. Now a 4th Nexus starts up. The fight over here, though, in the far bottom of the map, this has been over the 4th base of the Zerg, so Reynor already had that one up and running. He's only gonna get the gases going, it seems, really prioritizes those, because Lurkers are, of course, 150 gas and minerals each, so they're very, very expensive. But there is really not a great counter here for Classic at the moment. He's getting Storm going, okay. Storm, Charge, yeah, Immortals. It is certainly a viable unit composition. Problem here for Classic, though, is that it's going to take a while before that will really reliably hit the battlefield. I think it's going to be plenty of time for Reynor to get Lurkers going. And if Reynor can just make an insane amount of them, I don't think you can really push into it anymore as Classic. If Reynor manages to walk them across the map and maybe burrow them, right, in the mirrored location over here, much like the engagement that we saw down south just now, if he can burrow the Lurkers close to the base, maybe on the other side as well, it can become pretty much impossible for Classic to break. Yeah, soon we're going to be up to 10 Lurkers, and he can build them up so rapidly. Little Zergling group over here denies a pylon. Reynor actually decides to be aggressive earlier than I would have really liked it to see, but... Really, we're going already before Seismic Spines is even done? Reynor does not want to give his opponent any time to breathe at all. Here we go, though. Seismic Spines is nice. He did not expect the Lurkers. Classic doesn't have detection. He was not looking at that army at all. He thought that he had this fight in the bag. Nexus is going to die. Adepts in the meantime, though, are swooping around the sides. He did not expect Lurkers yet. There is no observer with this army. Well, now there is, but there wasn't previously. 4 drones go down. I don't think this is enough Protoss. Nope, it is certainly not. It's a very disjointed engagement right here for Reynor, but the bulk of the lurkers is right over where that 4th Nexus was previously located. He's gonna slow push them in. I would not mind seeing him start up. There we go, the lurker burrow improvement. Such a critical upgrade. Looks like a High Templar, though, has sacrificed itself just to, well, cast one final storm. Colorado Classic is gonna try and collapse on top of this, but he can't even take on half the lurkers, let alone the bulk of them right over here. I think that despite the fact that Reynor seemed down and out of this series, he obtains the victory here over Classic. What a banger. What a beautiful set of games. Just across the board, very high-level gameplay, a lot of variety in the strategic choices, just insane APM across the board, right? I mean, it is something that Reynor is very well known for. You could see here in the final game as well that he did not want to slow down whatsoever. But Classic also, I gotta compliment his strategy choices. He loses the series, but strategically speaking, I think he played it brilliantly.